all this stuff that you've been through, like it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And you're still, oh my God, this has not happened to me. I need to stop this.
I decided to come back to London when my son was 6 months old. And that was probably the hardest decision I've had to make.
Hey, it's Veena V and welcome to the To Millionaire podcast. Today on the show, I really should have tissues with me because I'm a very emotional person, and when you hear the lady that we've got on today, you're just going to think, how on earth has she gone through all these things and she's still here today? Because I think a lot of people would have gone down that downward spiral, and it's actually a blessing that you're actually here today. Please welcome to the To Millionaire podcast, Hyacinth.
Hi everyone,
Was that a bit weird? I should have
was.
really done that because I just want to get straight into your story so people understand the context of this podcast and why it's going to be so inspirational to so many people. So even before you had your children, life was a struggle before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was actually. I was born in Hackney, actually, in an estate that's no longer there, actually. It was called the Holly Street Estate. So it was quite a bad, notorious estate for crime, high crime and high drugs. And even though we never really went out much, my life was quite secluded as a child, actually, because we did experience a lot of domestic violence in the house. So we was not really going out mixing with people, and I was quite withdrawn. So I started to write a lot, and that's where I first started writing, actually, just writing diaries, writing stories, and just kind of escaping into words and poems, actually.
And did anyone tell you to do that, if that makes sense? Because when you're a child and you're going through these different things, was it just a natural thing to think, okay, I'm going to have a creative outlet? Because a lot of people do say that if you've been through different traumas in your life, they always say to you, kind of find a creative outlet, whether that be through writing, poetry, making music. Did someone tell you to do that, or was it just an instinctive?
No, it was actually instinctive, because even though I was a really quiet child and very withdrawn, actually, even the teachers, all my reports say that I was withdrawn and I wouldn't really speak to people. I just had a very loud voice that was felt like I was on mute, actually, if that makes sense. So the only way I could express it was with the words and the stories, and a lot of the things I wrote I actually would destroy because I didn't want them to be found. But for me, I felt like that was probably the start of what people are now calling reflective journaling and stuff like that.
And I love it because all these experiences that you've gone through, and we're going to touch on a lot more in a minute, you're actually putting that into your work now, into your business of helping other people. I know you do a lot of reflective journaling work with people now as well, don't you, and helping them through. So that was kind of what happened before you had your children, and then and you know, when one thing happens to someone, you think, okay, they've been through one thing, but with you, it's like you've had different situations go on one after the other. Yeah. So after kind of growing up in that area, what happened after that? Did you get pregnant quite young, or how was that situation?
No, I didn't actually. We moved out of that area when I was 16. We went into a women's refuge and then moved out of the area for about 5 years in a safe house. And I just went to college. I just started to become quite creative, so I was a really a weird fine artist, actually. I used to do abstracts, like Picasso style.
Oh, wow.
Oil canvas, yeah, and I still have some of my work now. And then after that, I started to kind of really think I'm going to strive. No one in my family had been to university before. No one was really thinking about university, so I thought, that's it, I'm going to try and get to university.
And when you said that about getting back, who were you getting back at? Was it literally society? Was there specific people saying to you, oh, because you've been through these different things as a child, obviously maybe even seeing your mum go through domestic violence, was it all of that you thought people, like, you know, your life is over?
I think it's kind of, it was actually for a lot of people, because there was a lot of people, especially from the estate we came from, people said, oh, people like us don't go to university. I wasn't people like them. I was just a very quiet child, and I didn't consider myself to even belong to that community.
And then what I want to understand is, because I think all of us fall into this. If you're living in a council block or whatever it is, if you're part of a community where people are saying to you, you're not worthy, or that phrase, people like us don't go to uni, people like us don't become millionaires, people like us can't be happy. But so most people go through life never thinking anything different. How did why is your mentality different in the first place? Do you know, was it something maybe someone said to you, or did you just look at your life or other people around you and think, I don't want this for myself?
It was partly that, actually, but I think when I got to college, even though I was doing art, that was my first time also being exposed to psychology, and I really loved the whole subjects of psychology, and also just studying the mind. And I've always been interested in the mind and looking at patterns, like patterns of behaviour, patterns we have, and looking at actually family patterns as well. When I look at very in-depth in family stuff, so I'm like, I don't want to have this pattern in my life, and I actually don't want to have that kind of life. So I thought it's definitely not going to be like that for me, regardless of what people say.
I just always find that so interesting, because it's always, you know, when I speak to people like you, it's like, how did you? Because like I said, and it's so sad that so many people in this world will die not knowing there's another way to life. They accept the situation they're in, whether that be domestic violence, they never get out of it, or they accept that they have to live in a certain place. And even with Mum to Millionaire, that's what I want to say to people. If you're watching this, like, you can change your life, but it's taking those baby steps.
It is.
Every single day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because while I was at college, I started to read personal development books, and I can't even remember what the first book is that I read, but I remember thinking, wow, maybe the way I'm thinking or what's happening can be actually seen different. And then now we have it. There's like this surge of mindset coaches and life coaches and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, wow, I was kind of reading that before, but then I was very scared, because I wanted to be loyal to myself and where I'd come from, and I didn't want to change. That was my biggest thing. I was scared to change. I really was scared to change.
I think that's key as well. If you are going through lots of struggles at the moment, you kind of did it without knowing what you were doing, but it's like, actually step back from your situation and try and look at it from a different person's point of view. Or, you know, read mindset books, go to seminars, try and go to events where there's going to be like-minded, or people who you want to be like. Because if you're thinking a certain way, you might not necessarily be thinking like people like that. But I think you did all the right things without you even knowing it. And I've started to do this in the evenings now, where I put my son to sleep, I'll switch my phone off, and for half an hour I literally put classical music on, and I'm just saying affirmations to myself, or just being quiet. Do you feel that helped you a lot? Like you said, going to quiet places.
It has, and also about the age of 18 I started to get into meditation, so I was doing that daily. On and off over the years, I've kind of gone through patterns of doing it daily and not. At the moment, I'm doing it daily again, but for me, that feels like, especially doing it first thing in the morning, before the children wake up. One, it keeps me focused and more calm, so I'm not kind of rushing and quite agitated in the morning for the school run if they're not getting ready fast enough, or saying they don't want to go to school or whatever else. And it's just actually helped me stay more balanced, and I feel like been able to increase my endurance, actually. So more things have been able to happen to me where they probably would have broke me before, but it's actually no, I know this is not going to be permanent. And I know other people that I've spoken to, some fantastic people been through much worse, and I'm like, actually it will get better, it's just passing.
So you're at uni now, and I'm guessing you met what you thought was the love of your life, which is now your ex-partner. You went on to have a child with him as well. Again, tell me about what actually, because it wasn't all like roses, happy. What actually happened there?
Well, I met my ex-partner, actually. He was my ex-fiance, actually, and we were together about 5 years. And I had my son, and then I actually moved up to Birmingham, and then we realised actually it's not working. So I decided to come back to London when my son was 6 months old, and that was probably the hardest decision I've had to make, because growing up where I grew up, I knew that I didn't want to be a single mum, And I knew leaving Birmingham, coming to London, I was going to be a single mum, because obviously the relationship wasn't working, and I wasn't going to try anymore because I felt like it was unsalvageable at that time, actually. So it was just me and my son. We came back and lived at my mum's until I could get a flat, and then I was just working quite a lot actually for the local authority, working with other people's children, bizarrely enough, from 5 to 16-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
And my sister looking after my son quite a lot, which was it was good because it was my sister, but it was hard because he was starting to call her mum, and she saw his first steps and stuff like that. So when he
And
was
do you know what? This is why I have so much respect for all mums in general, but especially single mums, because you were doing what you had to do in terms of working, getting money, supporting yourself.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it had the kind of like the opposite effect. Even though you're doing your best, then I can't even imagine what that's like, having your child calling. So at least it was your sister, but that must have hurt.
Yeah, it did. And even though I love my sister dearly, and she really loves having lots of children around her, it was sad, because he always used to say a lot of the time, I want to see mum. And I'm like, but I am your mum. But because at the hours I used to work, I would start at 3 p.m. and finish at 8 p.m. By the time I'd got back to my sister's to pick him up, because I wasn't driving as well, so I'd be using the buses to go home. I'd be getting home maybe 10 p.m. at night with him in the freezing cold in the pram, but obviously, the rain cover down to keep the draft out.
I love how
it was a long.
I to add that in, just in case anyone writes a comment like, "Did you put your child?"
No, he was lovely and snuggly, and
And then not only are you dealing with that, you're also, I'm guessing, still dealing with your ex-fiance. Did he have much of an input? Was, like even everything that's happened with me, my ex and my son, it's difficult. And there's so many little things which a lot of people don't talk about, and it's sometimes the really simple things, like when your ex is supposed to pick your child up and they don't come on time, and it's really, sometimes it's like, how much should I say? Because my son will probably end up watching these videos, and it's like, at the same time, like, you want to help people and you don't know how much to say, but I used to have to lie to my son and say, his dad is working, when his dad just wouldn't bother turning up.
Yeah.
Did you have to go through anything like that?
A few times I did have to actually, but because I lived in London and his dad lived in Birmingham, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was a perfect excuse, but it was in a way. So he came to the agreement that he just wanted to see him every 2 to 3 weeks for a few hours on a Saturday and use the coach. So it'll be 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday every 2 to 3 weeks, which I didn't think was sufficient for a child.
Of course, yeah.
Especially when they're 6 months old and then older, when they are actually aware, because nearly 3 weeks is a long time for a child.
It's even an hour seems like a year in a child's head, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so it was never a case of I could say to him, can you pick him up from nursery or school? Because I never had that support. The support there was always my mum, and she was working a lot of the time, so it was between my sister and my mum. I felt like it was a burden to them. So
yeah, I think there's so many. We could literally be here all day talking about different emotions, but like we were talking before, even about sometimes you really want people to help you, but you feel sometimes that you can't ask people, because I know, again, maybe we should do another podcast on this, but my son, and I've talked about this before, is like, and I don't like to use the word crazy, but I can't think of another name, but I can't even leave my son with some people sometimes because he's just too much for them. And I've had, I've tried, like, trust me, like, I want people to help me. I'm not one of these people that is like, I'm not going to get any help. I want help. Looking, after my son, it's not easy being a single parent, but I've dropped my son at someone's house before, and the mum will be like, call me, go, I'm really sorry, but you need to pick him up. Because it's just, they're not used to dealing with that kind of child. And I don't know if you've been through similar experiences like that, or was it, did you, like you said, you had your sister anyway, so was it quite...
No, I mean, not really, no, because he was quite placid with my sister, actually. He was always very calm. He used to be what people used to say, hyperactive or whatever sometimes, but I just felt that was his nature because it was very different. He was very, now looking at him as a man, he's very individual and he doesn't fit into the box of how a typical boy should be.
Okay, so there's just so many ways we can take this podcast, it really is, because I don't think you understand, like, Hyacinth has been through so much. So we've talked about, obviously, you being in a safe house, your mum went through domestic violence, you're now a single mum, you're now raising your child by yourself. Unfortunately, your child is now calling someone else mum. After your son gets older, you then have another child, don't you, with another man?
Yeah.
Talk to us more about what happened there, because it's, again, something very... You've already been through all of that, and now something extra sad happens.
I actually was with my second son's dad, not for very long actually, maybe about 6 months. And it was not a planned pregnancy actually, but I'm so glad I've got him because he's a blessing.
Oh, I've met Kwame, has been to my YouTube club for kids, and he's such a well-spoken boy. I just want to take him home, be like, sit there, just play with my son, put some good influence on him.
He probably actually enjoyed it as well. Yeah, so I was actually pregnant with Kwame, and me and his dad actually split up while I was pregnant. So I knew I would be a single mum on my own, and actually then I found out I was actually pregnant with twins. So that felt like that was shocking actually, because I was 34 and still struggling also with my older son, and it was shocking actually to know that I was pregnant with twins and I was going to be a single mum of 3.
Again,
Kwame was born at 23 weeks and he had a brother who was born as well at 23 weeks, which is still the legal age actually for termination.
Really?
Yeah, so 24 weeks. So yeah, he was born, just both of them were born spontaneously. His brother's name was Shaka. And they were so early, at that time, about 87% of children born at that age, that gestation, don't survive. And the ones that do are left with quite severe like disabilities. We had lots of interventions. He was in hospital for the first 6.5 months of his life. He was oxygen dependent and on a ventilator for months and in intensive care for 4 months, his first 4 months. And his younger brother passed away when he was 3 weeks old actually, which has always been that was hard. But I think it was even harder because after agreeing to a post-mortem, they never found out why he actually stopped breathing and stuff like that. So that was really shocking. It was shocking and scary because I thought, please don't let this happen to my other child as well. I don't think I could deal with it. And I was actually taking my older son to school and doing a school run and trying to keep life as normal as possible, actually. Even though there was times I'd get calls from the hospital to say he's critically unwell and he's not going to make it. They did say he wouldn't survive the first 24 hours. And they're quite shocked. So he's taken part in a lot of research for UCL. Yeah, and it's been fantastic. He's had heart surgery, he's had hernia ops, loads of stuff.
You're an amazing...
He was medicated every 2 hours, 16 types of medication.
I'm just listening to Hyacinth. I can't believe you've been through all of that. Like, I know it's not easy to talk about this, especially on camera. Like, I'm getting emotional talking about it now.
Oh, I'll give you a hug.
I can't. Oh my God, hold it together. But I just can't imagine all this stuff that you've been through. Like, it's so difficult. And you're still, oh my God, this has not happened to me. I need to stop this.
Are you?
You've done to. Oh. I think we could be here talking about so many different things that you've been through, and I think maybe at some point in your own journey you could actually do your own video, because that's a whole podcast and a video in itself dealing with bereavement. Like, that's not easy.
No.
And I know there's so much more things that have happened to you, which we're not going to go into the video today, but I know through your journey of your business that you're going to start helping people and you're going to start talking more about your experiences, which I think will really help. I we're going to end it here, but I do want someone that's listening to this right now thinking, wow, how the hell has Hyacinth been through all these different things? How are you still here? How did you get through it? Because I think there's been so much darkness in your life. How have you managed to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Like, how have you kept going?
I think the main thing is actually I've got about 3 really good friends that I've had from college. Actually, they're my closest sister friends, I call them. So we've spent many hours talking. We've all got children. Oh my God, yeah, just talking, going out together, doing loads of things. So it's been a network, and also my sister as well, and my mum. Because I think if my mum really wasn't here or doing what she's done, I would not have even been able to achieve as much stuff as I have. Because, you know, just the basic things like the child minding or just helping me out when I'm kind of stuck. The only thing I can really say is that things will get better. I know it kind of sounds really cheesy and corny, things will get better, but people have been through so much that are worse. All you need to think about is really what you want in life, and that it is achievable. I've had to work through a lot of confidence and self-esteem issues for years, actually, because I didn't believe I could do things. But slowly, because I always felt like I wasn't worthy and I wasn't enough, I've actually gone through an extra 20 years of education, which, and I don't even really celebrate. Last year was 20 years since I've been a published writer, which I don't celebrate. Wow. But obviously I want to have my 21. Yeah, and basically all I'm doing is just trying to achieve my dreams and show, especially the boys, that it doesn't matter where you come from, because where we live now, we're still living in Hackney actually, the area's changed. But they're boys that have been to the theatre, they've been to the opera, I've given them opportunities. Kwame's been to your YouTube club and he's done filming things. He's starting an entrepreneur course this Friday actually, that I'm paying for privately as well. So and then once you put your mind to things, you can achieve anything. Yeah, it really is your mind. I believe it's your mindset.
What you've done, you've just always worked on yourself.
Yes.
And you've always, and it's even try so hard to get support. If you're not, you know, lucky enough to have family around you, just try and connect with other mums in the area. I do think it's so important to have that support.
Yeah.
Since my son's dad has started helping, everything's so much. I wouldn't be able to be sat here right now doing this interview if my ex didn't help me with certain things.
Yeah.
Like, thank God he's now helping. Before it was so difficult. So I didn't have anyone to help at all. So I think what Hyacinth said, like, get support. And what we said right at the beginning of the podcast, actually, is like, stay positive, go to places like the sea or just where you could think and be alone, invest in yourself, do mindset courses, read mindset books, do, you know, Hyacinth is just a shining example of that you can get through anything in life.
And I have to finish actually by saying, because for me, even though I've done a lot of things for 20 years or 20 plus years, for 25 years I did a lot of community work, and for me, the volunteering and the community work in various sections of the community has always allowed me, I started that from the age of 16, to actually think outside of myself and know that regardless of what I'm going through, someone else is going through something much worse. And when you're kind of giving back your time and hearing people's stories and learning from people, there really is nothing that we can't achieve.
Oh, she's just amazing. You're so amazing. I literally love you so much. Where can we find out more about you?
You can actually go to my website, which I've built myself.
Good.
It's www.soulconsciouscreations.com. Also, there's my personal website as well, which is hyacinthmyers.com. Yeah.
We're going to put all the details on the blog, so go over there if you want to connect with her. If you're listening to this on the podcast, go to the YouTube channel and you can watch her beautiful face in action as well. But the main place you need to go is the website, mumtomillionaire.com, and there's loads of podcasts on there as well. I'm really loving all these people that are coming on Mum to Millionaire, such inspirational stories. And if you're watching this, listening to this right now, you can, it's just proof, the people that come on here, you can get through anything, you just have to keep going.
mumtomillionaire.com. Excel in business and life. Be a go-getter.